The amount of campaign speeches I gave in shutdown broken factories that had chain link fences around them, that had no lights, the electricity had been turned off, they were the most beautiful buildings you've ever seen, were lifeless, and we allowed all our manufacturing to go overseas, and it's not okay. China's a, $24 trillion economy. We're at, almost 30. The difference to China is they've got 5 times the amount of people. So our productivity is not only greater, but it's greater in terms of a productivity per person. We do it better than anybody in the world.
In this episode, I sit down with Eric Trump, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization.
Yeah, I was on construction jobs at, the age of 11. I was working for stonemasons, working for electricians, plumbers. I spent an entire summer cutting rebar with an acetylene torch. I mean, my father really believed in putting us to work at a young age, making us truly understand what real estate is.
We dive into his vision for revitalizing American manufacturing and building financial and tech systems that make it harder for people to be canceled.
These are banks that I had done business with for 30 years, never had a default, never had a breach, and just like that, we were turned off.
This is American Thought Leaders, and I'm Yanya Kellick. Eric Trump, such a pleasure to have you on American Thought Leaders.
It's great to be here.
So I've been huge on American manufacturing being a centerpiece of not just, kind of success in the world for America, but frankly, for the free world. I think it's something that's really important as actually a Canadian myself who's very bullish on America. Tell me a little bit about your vision for bringing back manufacturing and exploding manufacturing in America.
Well, Jan, I'm not sure if I had a vision before 2016, and now I think, our entire family has huge vision. I spent every day on a campaign trail, and the amount of kind of campaign speeches I gave in shutdown broken factories that had chain link fences around them, factories that had no lights, the electricity had been turned off. They were the most beautiful buildings you've ever seen, right? I mean, they were the base of kind of the industrial complex for America and in manufacturing, the greatest steel mills, the greatest foundries, these unbelievable brick buildings that were lifeless. And we allowed all our manufacturing to go overseas, and it's not okay. We can manufacture the greatest products in the world here in America. We should manufacture the greatest product. I'm not talking about the stuff that gets sold in dollar stores around the world. I'm talking about we can manufacture products better than anyone. We can do it better. We can innovate better. We're better entrepreneurs. And we better bring it back to the United States. And it's been a big part of my father's thesis. And, just a very quick story. Yesterday, I was at the Ford Motors factory. I got invited there, and I was literally on the assembly line. It's very infrequent that I take, these kind of field trips to go do things that are outside of but I wanted to go see it. And I'm walking these lines as F-150s are being produced. Every 57 seconds, another F-150 comes off the assembly line of the plant that I was in. And these hardworking Americans who are building the greatest products for the greatest companies that were representing, the automotive industry to the entire world. And the only thing I could think of is America can do it better than China. American can do it better than Asia. American can do it better than all these places. I'm not talking about the trinkets, but the things that are important to us, the high-tech items, the items that are imperative to national security, that are imperative to health. We better manufacture in this country. But we also better be able to put ourselves in a spot where we can actually have a competitive advantage. And when we were paying more taxes, when we had the worst EPA laws in the world, when we were putting in 10 extra regulations every 2 days that were just absolutely crushing the profitability, the productivity of our companies, you couldn't, right? And I think under my father, all of that stuff is getting reversed right now. Taxes are going down, interest rates are going down. Obviously regulation is going down. Speed to build plants is massively increasing, meaning as they cut red tape. And it's actually giving American companies a chance again. We make products better than anyone. And I don't care what anybody says about China, right? China's a, $24 trillion economy. We're at, almost 30. The difference to China is they've got 5 times the amount of people. So our productivity is not only greater, but it's greater in terms of a productivity per person. It's like 5x in America. We do it better than anybody in the world. We've got the best system. We've got the best country. We're the best innovators. I mean, we're shooting rockets into outer space. We're catching them with chopsticks right now. I mean, we lead the way in terms of everything we do. And that's a beautiful thing. We can never, ever let it go. And And that's why government needs to set great policy that allows the best entrepreneurs in the world to create the greatest companies. And then it's got to get the hell out of the way. It's got to keep us at a great competitive advantage. And so long as you do that, allow capitalism to reign. That's the advantage that none of these other countries in the world has. Allow capitalism to reign, and America will always win. People want to be associated with American companies. People want to be associated with the American legal system. People definitely want to be associated with the US dollar, as many problems as we all know we have. There is no second best to us, and people want it. And we've got a tremendous competitive advantage in that regard.
Someone I've come to trust quite a bit on the side of the economy, both Chinese actually and American, Kyle Bass, I had him on the show just recently. And one of the things that we talked about is his belief that really, we do have a huge debt problem in America, but his vision is that we absolutely have to grow out of it. Like that's really the only way to kind of unleash that prosperity in a very serious and deliberate way to deal with the debt. So to your point, I've had Mike Rowe on the show a number of times. I've been on his show as well. And one of the problems that he sees that he's trying to solve with his foundation is this, basically skilled worker shortage. And it's kind of dramatic in America. There's so many of these skilled jobs that are out there that there simply aren't enough people to staff. Have you thought about this? Like, what is it that we can do to actually shift that?
Well, it's actually deeply personal to me. I was on construction jobs at, the age of 11. Making minimum wages, working for stonemasons, working for electricians, plumbers. I spent an entire summer cutting rebar with an acetylene torch. I can run any backhoe, any excavator. I spent every summer of my life doing that. I can wire a house like it's nothing. I have calluses on my hands that prove it. I mean, my father really believed in, putting us to work at a young age, making us truly understand what real estate is. And that's bricks, that's mortar, that's concrete, that's electrical, that's plumbing, that's HVAC. And I can do all of those things extremely well. In fact, that's still kind of a hobby of mine today. I laugh at friends who literally, and these are incredibly competent people. These are people that work on Wall Street, do very nicely for themselves. They can't hang a picture on a freaking wall. I mean, it's embarrassing. Hey, it's something broke in their house. Give me your tools. Like they might have a screwdriver in a drawer, and you just, it makes you laugh. And it's incredibly sad though. I mean, we've lost the skills. I mean, we need manufacturing, we need skilled labor. And that's why you see so many people coming at us, they don't even necessarily they don't go to college in so many cases. They go out, they create these great electrical companies, they create these great plumbing companies, they go get licensed, and all of a sudden they build them into massive enterprises. Because, so many people are trying to run toward the Ivy League degree when there are so many jobs out there. Man, look at some of these diving jobs, this saturation diving. Look at so many of these, these welding jobs. I mean, some of these jobs are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I mean, incredible careers. And yet, people largely ignore them in this country. And there is no person in the country who's a bigger fan of Mike Rowe and what he's accomplished than I am, because those skill sets are fading away, and that's going to be a horrible day for this country.
Eric, we're going to take a quick break right now, and folks, we're going to be right back. And we're back with Eric Trump, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization. I wanted to shift gears a little bit. You actually have a couple of new initiatives that you're into. One of them is Trump Mobile, perhaps most prominently, and as I understand it, you're basically trying to create businesses that are kind of more difficult to cancel, if I understand that correctly. Can you tell me a little bit about what Trump Mobile brings to the table?
Well, let me zoom out to technology in general, if you don't mind. I'll talk about Trump Mobile in a second. When my father was in office, they did everything they could to kill us, literally. I mean, they tried to impeach him twice. They went after Supreme Court justices. They took him off the ballots of every state. Every AG, every DA started coming after him and me. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. The banks start canceling us like we were going out of style. I'm sitting there saying, I don't understand. I have a golf course in upstate New York. Why would you cancel that bank account? Like it's not part of the political discussion. We have nothing to do with politics. My father's not on any of the entities in our company. He has nothing to do with running our company. He's commander in chief. Why am I being canceled? And the answer was F you. You're in the political arena, and we just you're gone, right? And these are banks that I had done business with for 30 years, never had a default, never had a breach, only had the greatest relationship with the bank, had made them hundreds of millions of dollars in so many cases. And just like that, we were turned off. And so, and that was done for free speech as well, right? I mean, we created Truth Social based on the fact that we were deplatformed from Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and everybody else. We had no way to communicate. So all of a sudden, this kind of brought us into this new digital realm, this new technology realm. We created Truth Social to give ourselves free speech back. We got into crypto, World Liberty Financial, which is one of the fastest growing companies on earth right now, because we needed something to counter the banks canceling you and not having kind of traditional finance, right? So we went into the DeFi and decentralized finance and centralized finance, stable coin, but using kind of blockchain, right? And then obviously the mobile phones was a third initiative, which is, here's hardware that can bring it in a certain way altogether. But again, it gives people freedom. It gives people freedom from the conventional choices. We can do something better. We can put more effort into it. We can put more heart and soul into it. We can do it cheaper, with somebody that people ultimately trust. And so, technology has become a lot bigger part of our company than I would have ever possibly fathomed before. But it is normally kind of a reaction to the pendulum going so far in one direction that you actually had to create this product, because you had no other alternative, right? Again, we had no other alternative than to communicate if we didn't build Truth Social, and it skyrocketed the second we did it. We're going to build a financial institution that can't be canceled, and we're going to do it if need be on DeFi, and we'll put JP Morgan out of business, right? I mean, because there's nothing that can't be done in crypto better, cheaper, faster, more transparently than these massive financial institutions and buildings behind me right now that are filled with tens of thousands of people, pushing paper forms back and forth. Why is it that a bank takes 120 days to do a, know your customer to give you a home mortgage because you and your wife want to buy a property that you saw while you're driving home one day, and what, after banking you for 25 years, you have to fill out a paper, know your customer form? It's insane. And so Trump Mobile, all the crypto ventures that we're doing, World Liberty Financial, obviously Truth Social was a way to, kind of combat, that kind of woke, weaponized, culture that was being thrown at us. And it's been some of the most incredible projects we've ever done. It's been so much fun.
Just on the Truth Social side, I mean, I was stunned. Of course, I became friends with Devin Nunes through, us covering Russiagate and he being one of these key figures who was kind of digging in and trying to figure out what was going on. But then when he suddenly left Congress to head up Truth Social, that was, it was shocking to me. And I was like, are you sure you want to be doing this? This is, you're playing a kind of an important role here. It turned out, and we actually did an interview about this, and I can see a lot more clearly what he was thinking.
Jen, I was sitting at this desk when I got the calls from the Washington Post and New York Times. Eric, I hear you have a servers in the basement of Trump Tower that communicate directly to the Kremlin. I kid you not. I go, excuse me? What? Servers where? Yes, we hear very credible sources. You have servers in the basement of Trump Tower that communicate directly with the Kremlin. I go, first of all, we're largely a cloud-based computing, company, so, we're pretty server-free. Second of all, you don't put servers in basements because basements flood. Third of all, I don't know a damn person over in Russia. I hardly knew what a delegate was. We hardly knew what a caucus was, let alone some high-tech scheme to communicate with Russia to overthrow an election. It was all BS, as obviously everybody came to find out. But now it's amazing. The political discord is really amazing. Devin was amazing that whole process, but he's doing a great job on the truth front. I think really between what we did, which was create a community that actually had free speech that brought tens and tens and tens of millions of people into it, it really forced Twitter to do what it ultimately did. And then obviously Elon to come in later and do what he did so well. I really believe that we are the catalyst to restoring free speech in this country, because every single one of us, and certainly the Epoch Times and certainly all of your viewers, they would post something and everybody could see them turn down the dials. Normally if one of my posts was liked by 70,000 people, it would get liked by 2,000 people. And then I'd ask my friends to go in and search for it, and it wouldn't come up on any of their profiles. I mean, they were turning down the dials. They were controlling what people saw. They were censoring free speech. In my father's case, they just flat out, turned him off, despite the fact that the Ayatollah was on there, the Taliban was on there, Boko Haram was on there. I mean, literally, they were all these terrorist organizations were on Twitter, yet the 47th president of the United States, who was beloved by, I think well over half America, but let's just say half America, was thrown off, but the Taliban could stay on there.
Yeah, I do think something shifted after the 2024 election. I do feel like a little bit of this weight, kind of not as heavy anymore. But you've still been out there slandered and all sorts of stuff for a very long time. And I don't mean you. I mean everybody who had messaging unapproved, so to speak, messaging.
But you understand the good news?
Yeah,
we won. Right? Mm-hmm. A year ago, right now, I was sitting in a cold courtroom with my father right behind him. I wouldn't leave his side. I was there every single day with them, right? As they literally tried to imprison him for doing absolutely nothing wrong, right? And every single day, those networks, the MSNBCs, the CNNs, ABCs, the CBSs, every single day they sat there and they slandered him and they slandered him and they slandered him. And we won. I mean, every subpoena of the 116 subpoenas I received, every single subpoena came out of a story that was planted in the Washington Post or the New York Times that was then sent to either some state AG or DA, who would end up going down some, rabbit hole, send you a subpoena 3 seconds later. The coordination between all of them was like the media became the lobbyist arm of the DNC and the entire Democratic Party, Yet we still won. And so for all the people who were hurt by these people, for all the dials that were turned down, again, take solace knowing in the fact that they did not win because people understood exactly what they were doing. It pissed them off, and they decided to vote against the very establishment that was trying to take away not their Eighth Amendment right, not their First Amendment right, the very right, along with freedom of religion, that they're entitled to under the U.S. Constitution the first. Here's what I'll tell you. Don't try and control Americans' free speech. It will not work out well for you. And the media and the entire Democratic Party and all the people that orchestrate the nonsense found that out the hard way. And frankly, they're weaker for it, and we're a better country for it.
I think you did mention World Liberty Financial. Of course, you're trying to create an institution based on crypto, a financial institution, using crypto at its core. There's been a lot of initiatives out of your father's White House around crypto. I mean, there's a strategic Bitcoin reserve, this digital asset stockpile. There's been a working group. There's been the sort of promotion of stable coins and so forth. So, some people are saying, hey, this is, looks like the Trump boys might be trying to leverage this somehow. How do you respond to that kind of criticism?
Well, I respond very, very simply. I mean, my father's always loved crypto. We've always loved crypto. We started World Liberty Financial when we were sitting in a courtroom when we had a 0% chance of winning, according to the mainstream media. Is it really interesting? I mean, my father wants to do the things that are best for this country, all right? And we have to win the digital revolution because we don't, believe me, China is running at it as fast, maybe faster than even we are. So we're going to get totally left behind. But no, these projects were started pre-politics when the New York Times said we had zero chance of winning because we truly believe in the future of finance. And, you've got to break the antiquated system, which, by the way, the people that the antiquated financial system, the, traditional finance, benefits, it's guys like us, right? It's guys that have big balance sheets, guys that have big companies, guys that have a lot of zeros behind their name. You know who's absolutely devastating to? Everybody else. Like, I can negotiate my interest rates. I can negotiate bank terms. You know who can't? The person who's trying to buy that $80,000 or $100,000 house, which JP Morgan doesn't even want to finance because, it's a waste of their time and it doesn't move their needle based on the enterprise value and the capitalization, of a company. And that's where really crypto comes in a massive way. It gives people financial freedom. It's cheaper. It's faster. It's more transparent. You don't have a person who's going to cancel you because they don't like the fact that you're wearing a red hat that says Make America Great Again on it, or your company is affiliated with a church or, 1,000 other reasons that I've heard. I mean, I literally had a guy come up to me saying, my company's bank accounts were canceled because we make springs. Some of those springs go in fishing reels. Those fishing reels are sold in Bass Pro Shops. Bass Pro Shops sells guns. And they thought we were too close to the equation. I mean, you can't make this up. So no, our involvement in crypto started when we had no choice. When every person, every bank in the world deplatformed us for no reason whatsoever. We're moral people. We run a great company. And we were left with no option. That's when it started. But now it's very convenient for them to say, okay, it's based in politics. It wasn't based in politics. It was long before politics that this started. Ironically, the same people that asked that question are the same people who never asked the question of, is it morally okay for Hunter Biden to happen to find his way into finger painting and sell his art for, hundreds of thousands of dollars to, God knows who all over the world? I still ask, Hunter Biden had more entities, illegal entities and shell companies than any person I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, what product was he selling? We've been in real estate for 4 generations. My entire life, starting at 11 years old, as I said, was working on construction sites, building projects. We sell condos, we sell hotel rooms, we sell rounds of golf. We're in hospitality, companies that we were affiliated with long before anybody even thought my father had a chance of regaining office, as we are in a courtroom, are somehow questioned. I find that rather amusing, to tell you the truth. But no, I stay out of any kind of political, legislation in terms of crypto. I don't get involved in the fray. I put my head down, as I've always done. We're building the greatest real estate projects on earth. I'm very proud of them. I've got well over 10,000 employees around the world. But we're an American company. We're an incredible company. We've got phenomenal people, the most iconic projects, and we do it the right way. We absolutely do it the right way, and we do it for the benefit of America. We pay a fortune in taxes. I wouldn't say the same is true of a lot of people, to say the least.
Eric, this has been an absolutely fascinating conversation. A quick final thought as we finish.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you guys, because you've always been on the right side of the fight. The way they've targeted you, the way they've targeted the kind of the publication and your outlet is nothing short of spectacular. And they did it to you both in Asia, and they've clearly done it to you in the U.S. And so, thanks for having conviction. The amount of people I've met in my life who have very little conviction, very little backbone, and don't actually stand up for what they believe, it's kind of tremendous. And you guys have been on the right side of this. So, thank you for honorable journalism and the fight that you've taken on every single day. And again, having the resilience that you've had. You guys are truly amazing. And I say that with all of my heart.
Well, Eric Trump, it's such a pleasure to have had you on.
Thanks so much, Jan.
Thank you all for joining Eric Trump and me on this episode of American Thought Leaders. I'm your host, Jan Jekielek.